Hello. Let's see if we're getting more people to come in. Hello. Let's see if we're getting more people to come in. Hello. If anyone is there, appreciate if you could just say a hi. If anyone is there, appreciate if you could just say a hi. If anyone is there, appreciate if you could just say a hi. Hi, Jiva. Hi, Indrani. Thanks for joining us. Hi, Jiva. Hi, Indrani. Thanks for joining us. Welcome everyone, and we'll be starting shortly. Okay. Welcome everyone. Good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome. Once again, we are meeting in the OXCEL Cafe chat. Now, I do see people are connected. There will be more people connecting through LinkedIn as well as through Facebook. And I want to thank all of you who are here joining us today. Thank you. And let us now move on. Today, I have this is our second episode actually of this OXCEL Cafe chat. And we have a very interesting speaker with us today, and I can't wait to introduce her to you all. Good evening and welcome. I can't wait to introduce her to you all. Now, before we move on and hear what our guest speaker has got to say, let me please introduce to you OXCEL. All right. Now, OXCEL basically stands for Oxford Centre of Leadership UK. And I'm Maria Rufina. I'm the president of OXCEL Malaysia. All right. Now, we are 22 years old now. We were formed in 1999, of course, in UK. And we are a body led by a group of scholars and practitioners that we have. Okay. Industry practitioners are also part of the people who form this particular body. Now, we are committed to lifelong learning and pretty focused on building, nurturing, as well as celebrating leadership. Now, I call celebrating leadership because, leadership is so important, whatever we do. So many people are there who have arrived, but they may not have been having the recognition. And that is what we are here for as well. Now, we engage with leaders across the globe and we have presence in other countries as well. And I must say, and I'm very proud to say that we offer a platform to turn your experience into credentials, recognitions, as well as honors, all right? Now, to show you further, let us just watch a short video on OXCEL, and we'll move on then, all right? Just give it, and here we go. Well, very briefly, that is what OXCEL is all about, Oxford Centre of Leadership UK. And now we do a lot of events. This is one of them. OXCEL Cafe Chat is one of them. But apart from this, we also do networks for leaders to meet. And due to this pandemic, we have not been doing that, but look out for something very interesting soon. Yeah. Now, let's go to this OXCEL Cafe Chat. What is this OXCEL Cafe Chat all about? We basically, in every month, once a month, we invite iconic leaders who have really achieved. There are lots that we can learn from them. And basically, every month, we'll be featuring one leader from any industry. And we focus on leadership. What are the practices that they're doing, and so on. And today, we have someone very, very interesting. But let's take a look at a very short video on OXCEL Cafe Chat. Yeah. Exactly, the meeting place. So this is the meeting place for leaders. And now the time has arrived. Without further ado, I'm now going to invite our speaker for today. But before I invite her, let me just give a brief introduction. The guest of honor or the guest speaker that we have for today is Miss Subashini Silvadass. Okay, a very young, petite lady, and she is the Chief Executive Officer of Asia Consulting Sdn Bhd. Now, the moment we hear Air Asia, we know where they are. All right. Now, Air Asia Group. Let me just share very briefly about her. Subashini is with Air Asia Group since 2007, and she holds several key positions in the organization, such as Group Head of Airline Strategy. She was even in charge of scheduling, fleet, regulatory affairs, operations in Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, India. Okay, and she has a very wide experience in this aviation industry. And Miss Subashini is actually, by profession, she is a chartered certified accountant and also a fellow member of ACCA. And she's formerly from PricewaterhouseCoopers. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us now bring on our speaker for today. And here is Miss Subashini Silvadass. I have already done all the introduction already.
Thank you. Great
But
to be here.
okay, thank you very much, Miss Subashini, and thank you so much for joining us in today's session. Despite your very busy schedule, I know, but I want to appreciate it. Thank you so much it's such a pleasure to have us with you. Ms. Subashini, before we move on, can you share a little bit more background about yourself? Even though I've shared some background about you, share a little bit about yourself, please.
Yeah, I've been with Asia for 13 years, as you've mentioned, and I've held various responsibility. I have a lot of passion for aviation, and I love numbers and driving profits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're also a chartered accountant, right? So
yeah, naturally.
All right. Okay. So, how do you feel about being here today with us?
Oh, I think it's a great opportunity and pleasure to be here with sharing my experience. Definitely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, so are we ready to start, Shubha?
Sure. Yeah.
Shall we? All right. I have lined up a list of questions for you, but basically they are very simple. Basically, the main reason we have OXCEL Café Chat is to focus on leadership, and we want nothing teaches people like experience.
I agree.
We can learn all kind of theories in the books and all those things, but nevertheless, hearing from the horse's mouth, people go through, and leadership is something which is so vague, very ambiguous. There are so many different approaches, and that's the reason why we have lined up this particular session, and we would love to hear it from your side. And our title for today is Leading and Rising Against All Odds. All right?
Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Subha, just to ask you a couple of questions. Okay, the first one I would like to check out with you is, can you tell us about Air Asia Consulting? We all know about Air Asia, but about this Air Asia Consulting, please let us know a little bit more about this.
Okay, so Asia Consulting is a newly set up entity, a wholly owned subsidiary of Asia Group Berhad. It was set up in Q2 this year during the pandemic, and the main reason we set it up is because we realized that there were a lot of clients and parties approaching us, wanting us to be partners with them to start airline in different countries, but we were not really keen because our focus is always been ASEAN, and we wanted to focus in ASEAN specifically. But we were getting a lot of requests, and then we realized that it's a great opportunity for us to set up this entity, because then we can actually monetize our experiences and monetize the services that we can offer to set up airlines in different countries, low-cost airlines, and then whether we want to do an equity investment, that can be a separate discussion. But at least, we could provide managed services because we have the lowest cost in the region, even globally. So we have a lot of best practices. We've been in operation for such a long time. We have expanded in so many countries, and we have such good experience, which we can guide a lot of other airlines on what to do and how they should. Because as you know, the airline business is a very risky business. You can lose a lot of money if you don't set it up properly.
And especially now, right?
Exactly. And also because, the costs in airline can escalate up very quickly unless you're very disciplined.
All right. But what about competition? Aren't we afraid of competition that's going to come up?
No, there's very few competition when it comes to consulting business in the low-cost airline sphere. I think a lot of airline consulting firms are actually offering services for full service airlines. In
Mm-hmm.
addition to setting up new airlines, we are also going to provide services on certain areas of operations that someone wants to engage us. Like, for instance, they want us to improve the crewing, maybe reduce costs in certain areas, or digitize a certain part of their business. We have all this expertise, and we are willing to provide this service to them as well.
Okay. All
Mm-hmm.
right, thank you. Now, I would like to ask you this question. I see that you're a very young person. Okay, very young, very petite, and you are taking on this role as the CEO of Air Asia Consulting. Okay, could you let us know what it took you to earn this challenging role? I'm sure you would be a source of inspiration to many, especially women out there as well. Okay, so could you please let us know what did it take for you to come this far?
Yeah, I think I've been with, as you know, with PwC for 5 years, and then I've been with AirAsia for 13 years. I think in the 13 years, I think AirAsia has given me and exposed me to various areas and given me so many opportunities, to be really honest, which I'm really thankful. I've been exposed in managing operations in Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, Japan, India,
Wow.
and I've overseen strategic operations of AirAsia and our expansion in these countries, gaining market share, turning around business, acquisition of ZAS Airways in Philippines for Philippines business, as well as initial setup of new businesses like in Japan and India. So I think I've been privileged, and also we've also were starting to set up an airline in Vietnam, which in the end didn't happen, but we went through um, a lot of process to set it up anyway. So I think I've gained the experience, and I think I'm very thankful that the bosses think I'm ready to take up the role, and I'm
Wow.
excited, and I've always been ambitious, so I think it's great.
Okay, so you like challenging roles, I believe.
Yeah, I enjoy challenge, that's for sure.
So, am I correct by saying that sometimes the job rotation, in companies they have job rotation and all that, that actually adds and makes people more mature and more skillful. Am I correct by saying that?
Definitely. I think you don't see it, but if you connect the dots retrospectively, I realized that I've learned a lot in every area I was involved in, which
Yeah.
has helped shape my thought process.
Thank you. Now, I just want to give a little bit of note to all those people watching out there. Wherever you are working, whichever industry you are, be it small company or big company, sometimes, we tend to um, sigh when extra additional responsibilities are given, but actually not realizing down the long run, we will be thankful that, hey, am I glad, I went through that. So take on more responsibilities is just going to add additional dimension to us, all right? Now,
Yeah.
so
And
I'm
also,
going
just
to.
to add to that, I think
Yes.
I've been given roles which I didn't have experience, and I had to
Mm-hmm.
take it up anyway. I had to do mergers and acquisition and joint ventures, doing up financial models, and also deciding what's the value of company, etc., which I didn't really have full experience, and I had to read up and learn on my own. So I think all your experience would definitely add up.
And that's always the first time, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
And learning experience, right? Okay, so now I want to focus a little bit more in this particular role that you're playing as a CEO, okay? As a
Mhm.
CEO of Air Asia Consulting now, what particular strength do you think you have which is adding value to this particular CEO's role? I know apart from all your skills, your technical skills and know-how, what
Mhm.
other, perhaps maybe can we focus a little bit on the core competence? What do you
Okay.
think? Yes.
I think to to lead a company, I think you need really good leadership skills, and I think I've learned a lot of leadership skill from the way I work, and also learning from others, uh, and reading. So I think it is great to know. But my personal strength would be I think I'm good at individualization, identifying talent, knowing who does well in what work. I think that is definitely my strength. So I know who I should put in a certain role in order for them to shine and produce the results that I'm looking for. I think that is definitely my strength. I'm also very number driven and data driven, so my decisions are always backed by numbers and data. So I think that has helped me make a very good and useful decision. Although it may seem a little bit prudent in most of the decision I make, because I don't really make decisions out of whim and fancy, but I think
Based on facts and figures.
yes, I've always been that, and that has helped me a lot. And I think the final one would be I think I'm very passionate about the work I do. So I think it really makes a big difference because you go the extra mile because you are so passionate in what you do, and it's not just work. It's like I have passion in the aviation business. I have passion in the work I do. I love going to work every day. So I think it makes a big difference.
I can relate to what you're saying. Passion translates to results. I'm a strong believer of that, right?
That's right.
And particularly when you mentioned about the right talent for the right job, ability to identify that. And I think that is a very important skill for a leader, correct?
That's right.
Because leaders have to manage human resources, and the
Yes.
moment they can handle the human resources well, a lot of things can get done. Would you agree with me on that?
That's for sure.
Okay, that okay. To make this OXCEL chat a little bit interesting. Oh yeah, before that, just to let you know, if all those people out there, if you have any questions, please feel free to post in the chat, and I will be able to see, and we will try to take any questions, yeah, as we go along. Even though I have lined up a few questions, we would give priority to your questions. So do feel free to post any questions if you have, yeah. Now, coming back, I'm going to go into a little bit interesting. Let's make it a little bit, not all the way we're going to talk about leadership, a little bit out. We want to have some speedy questions. Okay?
Okay.
Speedy question, basically, you've got to like think on your feet. And within 30 seconds, you've got to give me an answer. Your answer can be short or long, doesn't matter. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. The first question I'm going to ask you: who is your favorite leader and why?
Okay, if you ask me who's my favorite leader, I think it's Jacinda Ardern. And why I think she's a remarkable leader,
Mm-hmm.
youngest prime minister in probably 150 years in New Zealand. Her achievements are nothing short of remarkable.
Yeah.
You can see, I think she brings a new type of leadership into the game in a very male dominated position. Leadership with kindness, with empathy, just goes to show that you don't need to be all this scary boss in order to achieve to produce results. You can be a leader with empathy and kindness and still bring remarkable things. I think she's driven down unemployment rate in pandemic, which is quite crazy, to be
Yeah.
really honest. So I think it's just nothing short of remarkable when you read about her. For someone with her who's a mom who has a kid who just gave birth, I think it's amazing.
And there's lots we can emulate from her, right?
That's right.
Thank you. Now we move on to our second question. And our second question is now, all of us will definitely get criticism. What kind of criticism do you get most at work and also
Okay.
at home?
Okay. So at work, I think I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I expect really high, good quality work from my subordinates. So it
Mhm.
does stress them out a little bit. I think I get that feedback, and
Mhm.
and that's only because I take pride in my work, and I don't normally deliver work which is substandard. So I think it translates down to my subordinates. I think it can be stressful, but I think it's just setting right expectations so that they are clear from the start. At home, I'm pretty relaxed, so less criticism. Probably I'm a little bit of a procrastinator.
Okay, at home, huh?
Yeah.
But definitely not at work. Yes.
Hmm?
Definitely not at work.
No, not
Procrastination.
really.
The thing is, at home we can be a bit relaxed. Am I correct?
That's right.
All right. Okay. Now I'm moving on to the third question. And the third is now, assuming in your role as a CEO, you have reached a checkmate situation. Okay, checkmate situation, and you do not know what to do in those kind of moments. I mean, we do not have all the answers all the time, and they always say it's lonely at the top, right? But when such a situation arises, checkmate, what do you do?
Okay, so usually I think there's always a solution to all the problems, or
Mm-hmm.
there's always a solution. It's just what's the cost and what's the risk and what's the impact. So usually my approach has always been I always just outline all the different options I have and the pros and cons, the cost and the risk, so that I can see it clearly. And also because I don't want to be blindsided by my own views only. And usually I seek out a different perspective someone who's not related or someone who is related to the business to see what is their view, because I feel that having someone look at that same problem in a different light may give me a different perspective that I may have completely missed.
Okay, so you rationalize it out, you put it out in the open and see, hey,
Yeah.
what is the all right, okay. Thank you very much. If you notice these three questions, why I asked is because hopefully they would be. I would like anyone who's watching this question to ask yourself the same question. That is the whole idea, right? So just to see how we would approach. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come to the. I call this as the golden question. Just now was the speedy question where everything got a brand there. Okay? And now we are moving on to a golden question. Now, what I mean by golden question is the topic for today. Now, I'm sure many will be wondering why is the topic leading and rising against all odds? Let me explain why I chose this particular topic. Okay. Now, you are the CEO of Air Asia Consulting, which means you've got to drive this organization forward, especially in this time of pandemic where people are not flying. Here you are telling everybody, hey, set up the flights and all those things. So I find that this is against all odds. You've got to make it happen. Given the mandate of a CEO, you've got to make it happen. So my questions to you is, what are your views on leading against the odds? Just in general, that was my reason for coming up with this topic. What are your general views on this?
Okay, I think AirAsia is a great example of how we've dealt with the pandemic and how we've managed to get this far. I mean, we didn't even think that it will be this long before we get out of it, and we don't even see recovery, like
We
full
all
recovery
become
yet.
grounded now.
Yeah, exactly. So all the planes are grounded. So we had to think quickly on our feet. The good thing is AirAsia has always adopted technology early. So moving from working from home and moving everything, our operations away from the office was the fastest decision we ever made because we were already prepared for it anyway. But I think after that, what we did was the management team had to lead the changes because we had to know what exactly we do next, because we do not have any more. All the flights are going to be grounded, the planes are going to be grounded, right? So what do we do next, right? So what we knew is that we needed to really identify all our fixed costs, right? Really have a good understanding of our fixed costs, because these are the costs that we will keep incurring even if we do not fly. So identifying all the fixed costs and deciding what we do with them, whether we can cut this cost, whether we can terminate the contracts, whether we need to renegotiate the contracts, and also like deferring planes that we've ordered and we are supposed to take delivery, because they are the most expensive asset anyway, which we pay a lot, and if we don't fly them, then it's just sunk cost, right? So I think those are the kind of decisions we did, and we've cut down so much cost, and now we are so lean and mean, like seriously, like all the functions that we don't need, even some things which are nice to have, we've actually just cut down, and we've shrunk the team to be smaller, to do more work, to be honest, in the time being. Remobilizing staff as well, like moving some of the airline staff to the digital side where they need manpower because they're not working anyway, or put people on furlough, giving them different opportunities. Like we have a Red Beat Academy in case they want to learn something digital, learn something new. So I think we've done a lot, and I think that's what leaders do. I think they look at the situation and don't go like, okay, I can't do anything and I'm drowning, and do something about it. And I think we've diversified the business, we've gone digital. I think we have
Wow.
invested time in the super app, where we want to be a platform where the airasia.com website will no longer just sell AirAsia tickets, but also sell all the airlines. I mean, that's our vision. And also, as you know, we have food delivery, ride hailing, AirAsia Beauty, and we've come up with all this because we have now time to focus on this digital side of business, because our airline business is a little bit slow. So I think it's a great opportunity. I think leaders will have to think out of the box when they are in crisis, instead of just saying they can't do anything and being stuck in where they are.
Exactly. I think this entire case study and this scenario of Air Asia that you have depicted here actually did clearly spell out or define leading and rising against the odds. Because, at the time when we think, what are we going to do? I think there's lots of things that you all have done, and that's really fabulous, fantastic. Now I'm coming on to Air Asia Consulting.
Mhm.
So, what strategies? What I would like to know, that was for the Air Asia, and honestly, it's fantastic. It's fabulous. Huh? The way they have you all have turned around and moved things around. What about strategy? What about Air Asia Consulting? You've got to go and promote, and I understand that you were saying that you all were formed in second quarter. Am I correct?
Yeah,
Second
that's right.
quarter of this year. And in that time frame, what are the strategies? I'm sure you won't be saying, no, I've got an excuse, I can't, nobody's flying. What strategies did you embrace to
Yeah.
ensure that Air Asia Consulting remains relevant and positive
Yeah.
bottom line?
So I think it's great that we already have one client, which we are setting up an airline in a different country, and that
Wow.
will take us at least 6 to 8 months at least to completion for all the services we provide to them. So there will definitely be a cash inflow into the company during this period where we provide these services. So I think that it's great, and also because in this the pandemic is a great time to start this business. Actually, if you ask me, because a lot of the airline to secure an airline license take us like the shortest would be 4 to 6 months, or it could be as long as 8 months or 12 months. So a lot of parties who clients who approach us, they want to get ready to get the license and
Mm-hmm.
secure the license and start operation when recovery hits. So it gives
Right.
us great opportunity because we have the manpower right now because they are not flying and we have enough resources to do the work faster than we could have done if we were flying as well and multitasking work because we want to cut costs. We don't want to we want to make sure that the consulting business has a really low cost so that we can maximize profit and use as much as shared resources as possible within the AirAsia. So I think it's a great opportunity that we are being set up now. And also if you see all the airlines in the region as well as globally, what they want is they need to now cut costs and make sure that when recovery hits, you are ready and your cost is low enough and you can move forward and be profitable because you've been not operating for a long time. And AirAsia has the expertise to help you in certain areas, or you can even if you're looking at outsourcing certain of your back office functions like crewing, etc., and we can take on that function as well. So I think it's a great opportunity to be in to set up this company during this pandemic because I think we will be able to do all this work that we are trying to now listen we actually in the it's still in the infancy, as you know, so we are trying to set this up to know what are the kind of services that we know that we can provide. We can even start providing from day one. I think we are streamlining those services, etc., and I'm in the process of doing that.
Okay, wow. This just actually is so true when people say, even in times of adverse situations and all
Yeah,
that, there's always something that you can do, and you have
yeah.
utilized this time to get ready and prepare. I'm sure marketing for this and all that has been aggressively, you all have been doing as well.
Yeah, no,
To
we
be,
haven't really started doing aggressively because we are trying to streamline what exactly we want to offer and making sure that we have the right services. I think the marketing it wouldn't be a problem because we are known so well globally. I think even if just Tony's telling everybody, okay, we have this services, we will get the
Mhm.
services we want to offer. I think it's not very difficult yet. And also, I
Ah,
think we have been very good in social media engagement and all that. I think there's a lot of opportunity to go out there and shop the services we want to offer. Yeah.
so the launch pad is ready, and
Yes.
it's just the moment that it's just waiting
Yes.
for timing, and that's it. Boom. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fantastic. Okay, let's see whether there's any questions. There are just some comments here, but I don't see other comments. Okay, other questions. Let's just move on. Let me ask you another one more question. Let's see. Okay, now I'm now moving on to a segment that we have. As I mentioned, OXCEL, we thrive on the nine OXCEL leadership qualities. We call it as OLQ, nine leadership qualities, okay? And the nine leadership qualities are this one, if I may add here, if you can see,
Yeah.
the nine leadership qualities that we subscribe to and we advocate are handling cultural diversity, leading and developing others, developing capability and capacity, making sense of complexity and ambiguity, all these big words coming out, integrity, ethics, influencing, ceremony, leading change, and these are the nine. Now, of course, when you talk about leadership, there are so many other competencies which we have. But OXCEL, we focus a little bit on this with detail. And we are going to have a segment now. And in this segment, what we do is we select any two qualities, and we would like you to share your experience with reference to that particular quality. Okay, now last session we already did managing sense of complexity, I think, but no harm, we can also do it again if you want to. And we did cover on integrity. Probably let me choose the first one and you can talk about the second one that you would like to speak about. Okay, can we look at handling cultural diversity? I think this is a very interesting area because, especially for Air Asia, is very relevant. Would you be able to share any experiences and relate it to leadership on this area?
Okay, so I think handling cultural diversity is something I deal with every day,
Mm-hmm.
considering that I oversee in my previous role, and currently, even though I'm holding a new role, I still have to double head some of my existing role because of the pandemic and due to the slow recovery. So I think I deal with this every day because I oversee operations in Malaysia, Thailand, Japan, Indonesia, India, Philippines. So I think this is definitely something which is not an easy thing to do because it's a very sensitive topic. I think for me, how I handle cultural diversity is actually just by being sensitive and being respectful and understanding what different countries and their cultures, because I think um, is very different and people are very sensitive when you don't respect their culture. So I think that's an important thing. And also in terms of like how you implement your decision across these countries, because you need to understand what are their strengths and weaknesses, because we have like one decision which we make at group level, which we try to implement in like 5 or 6 different countries, but I cannot take a cookie cutter approach in implementing the same decision, because in country A they may be very receptive and they just follow orders, but
Mm-hmm.
in country B you need to make them feel like this decision is not yours but theirs, making
But
sure that
wouldn't
they
it be
feel that.
seen like substandard?
Pardon, sorry.
Shubha? Wouldn't it be seen like substandard? You're practicing something else here and practicing. Wouldn't it be seen that way?
No, it won't, because at the end of the day, we just want that decision to be implemented. Finding the right approach across different culture is very important, because at the end of the day, you know that this is the decision and this is the solution, and that you would like it to be implemented. You know this is going to give you results. You've already done your work, but it's just that getting across this being implemented in different countries where you have operations, you have to approach it differently, because you can't just make it seem like it's a unilateral decision, because if someone who doesn't feel their decision is theirs, they will not take ownership of it and they will not implement it as per what you want it to be. So I think it's important, in order for you to make sure that you approach it very differently. Country C, they may not understand what you want them to do, and you may require hand holding and being with them all the way through. So I think it's different approach in different countries. So if you don't understand the culture and you don't understand what is their strength and weakness, I think it's very hard to implement anything. And managing cultural diversity, you will not be successful. It's very hard.
So it is important, especially when leaders are dealing with multicultural people in their organization, especially. And now it's even more so because globally, right? Everything is virtual and so on. It is important for leaders to be aware of the sensitivity and all the culture, at least to some extent, right? Are we?
Yes,
That's what we're trying to
correct.
say.
Yes, correct. Like for instance, even like in Thailand, for instance,
Mhm,
you
mhm.
know that they like to be addressed as kun,
Yeah.
you know. So if
Mhm,
you do that, you get accepted easier,
mhm.
and they become more friendly towards you, for instance,
Is
compared
it
to if you
okay
just.
not to mention the kun? Is it okay not to
It's
mention the kun?
okay, but if you do, they know that you're putting in effort in understanding their culture. It brings you the extra mile.
Yes.
They're nicer to you, they work better with you because they feel that you're part of them.
Yeah, true. Okay, okay. Kun then. All right, and say some sawari cups here and there. That's a popular word, isn't it? Okay, now it's your turn, Shubha. Which particular one are you going to share?
I
Which
think,
one?
yeah, I think I'll choose leading change because,
Leading
uh,
change, all right?
yeah, I think we've been I personally have been leading change. For instance, to give an example, how we lead change, we had to close down our Japan operations, as you know, and exit from Japan. It was a very difficult decision for us to make, considering that we have invested in Japan, and we see a long-term potential. But for us to cover the short-term losses, especially during a pandemic, was too high, and so we had to make that difficult decision to exit the business. So I think leading change for me is like um, knowing that we need to make this hard decision in order to close this business, even though it's not the right, even though it doesn't feel like a natural thing to do, and then
Sometimes the
and making
attachment
sure
and
that
sentiments are there, right? Sorry?
yeah,
Huh? Yeah?
sorry, you were saying.
Sometimes the attachments and sentiments are there as well.
Correct. Seriously, like having managed the business and you know that it's showing improvement, and then yet you will need to cut losses and you need to close down. It's not the easiest decision, but I think it has to be done and to minimize our losses, etc. So, like, I was in charge of the whole closure of Japan, managing the Japan operations as we exit, and making sure that because the Japanese culture is pretty sensitive, managing people's reputation, our shareholders' reputation, making sure that we exit in the right possible light was so important. So for me, that is leading change that is very necessary for the business, even though it's not the one that you want to do, but you have to do as a leader. You need to make hard decisions and follow through. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And sometimes you have to make those decisions. And I have situations I've seen situations where, because of sentiments, because of attachments and ego and pride, people have been holding on, not realizing that actually it's eating up into the entire profits and all that. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
right.
So thank you. I think that was, thank you for sharing your experience, because from here it's basically like defining the leadership, and we are also looking at how others can also take some points back on their own. Okay. So now I'm going to have one more question for you. Let's say now, when you were formally doing mergers and acquisition and all that, has that been helpful for you? Obviously, in the this particular leading change experience you shared, it
Mhm.
has come in handy. But apart from that, has that particular experience helped you in this role here?
Which role? And in like my new role as a CEO,
Yes,
or
yes, yes. The
that
mergers and acquisitions.
yeah, definitely, because when I had to do the mergers and acquisition, etc., I'd be involved in the business, managing different stakeholders, and also ensuring seeing how viable is the business, evaluating the viability of the business, and then making sure the agreements make sense and we're getting what we are paying for instance. So I think it's definitely has been, and we've evaluated a gazillion mergers and acquisition plan so far. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think it's given me a lot of experience understanding different businesses, what's important for acquisition, and also all the way to reviewing all the agreements, which is tedious, but it's something you need to do. And because I'm pretty detailed, I go into the details all the time. So I think I don't just leave it to the legal team to review the agreement. I do it myself too. So I think it's a skill which is very important, especially when you move on to my new role, for instance, knowing what is important in an airline business. Uh, I think that is key.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we are coming close to the conclusion of this session. As I said, it's going to be just for about 45 minutes. We love to keep it short. I would like to ask you, but I'm just going to pop in one more question. Judging from the way you speak and all that, how do you describe yourself, Shubha? I mean, personality-wise, of course, you are a perfectionist. You told me that earlier. But apart from that, how would you describe your personality?
My personality, I have passion in what I do, as I mentioned earlier. I think it drives a lot of my work and what I deliver. I love responsibility. I take ownership of everything that's given to me. That's for sure. And I always take pride in my work, so I always deliver the high quality work. I love learning. I love new challenges and learning, and I love when my bosses give me new areas. New areas of items that I can look at,
Mm.
and I love to see results.
And it's all work. But Shubha, what about fun side of you?
Oh,
What
fun
do you
side of
do?
me. Oh, okay.
You're
That's plenty. I love working out.
okay.
Fitness is my passion.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy working out. I love yoga. I love hiking,
Uh-huh.
and I also love baking. Yeah,
Okay.
and reading
Uh,
as well. Yeah.
okay. Some more question. Are you married and your family?
Yes, I'm married. Yeah.
Yeah. How many children do you have?
I do not have children.
All right. Okay. Okay. Now we will come to the concluding question I'm going to ask you since there are no any other questions from the floor. Um, what would your golden advice be for those who are leading against the tide? I'm sure many people out there, as you know, some industries are booming, especially in this time, whereas some industries are really struggling. Okay. And what
Right.
would your advice be for those people who are in those industry to go against all odds? What would your advice be?
I think the only constant in life is change. Uh, I think to be successful, you need to remain relevant, and that means embracing change. Because I think you need to change the way you do things. You need to change your ways of thinking and doing, and always be 10 steps ahead of your competitors. Always know what they're doing, and also changing not because there's competition sometimes, just evolving with the times. Like otherwise, you'll be left behind. Even just the case of Nokia, for instance, they were doing really well, but they were just so comfortable in their comfort zone. They had the highest market share, and then their business was damaged and demolished just like that overnight. So I think it's important for you to always stay ahead, focus, and know what's new and what's coming, and investing your time and your business in evolving. I think that is very important, even in AirAsia for us. Like always knowing what your competitors doing, what's new, adopting technology even before your competitors adopt them. Not as a follower, but more as a leader, being always being ahead of everybody else.
Being ahead of everybody else, and that's a keyword, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so all those people out there, times are challenging, but things are getting better. But in challenging times, that's when we look for opportunities. Am I correct, Shiva? We
yeah,
look for opportunities and we do not hesitate to do something new, to do away with our old approaches and just move towards something new. Sometimes we may be thinking people are looking at us, oh my God, what will they think? What will these people think? But the most important thing is how can you be relevant and how can you still succeed and thrive? You may have to shed a lot of fats. Am I correct? Fats, as in
that's right.
you may need to let go, but ultimately, I think the world has changed. I'm sure you agree with me. The world has changed where what is seen as success in those days, even in business, is not a criteria anymore. Like people want to have offices or people want to have many, staff or resources. Even those things, if you need to get away with that, we need to. I think that would can we conclude in that sense,
That's
Shubha?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. What you said is absolutely right.
Okay, so I think we've come to the end of the session, and Shubha, it was really a pleasure having you with us. I know you are very, very busy because every time I call, you say, Maria, I'm still working. I'll call you back. I call you back.
Mm.
And despite all that, you have blocked your time and you've made yourself available for this session. We want to thank you so much for being here. And on behalf of OXCEL, I want to thank you and hope to be in touch with you again in any of our events. We would love to have you there as well. We'll keep you
Yeah,
posted.
sure.
Thank you so much, Ms. Subashini Silvadass. Thank you.
Thank you
And
for
to
having
all,
me. It's been my pleasure.
yeah, thank you. And to all those out there, thanks very much for joining us today. And we would love to please do share this video to your friends. I'm very sure some person will find it somewhere. It's very relevant, and they might get answers for their questions through this session, through sharing by Ms. Subashini Silvadass. Okay. Thank you very much once again, everybody. Thank you, Shubha. Thank you. And thanks
Welcome.
to everyone. Good night, and we'll catch up again next month on another one more episode. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.